Welcome everybody to this latest episode of Up the Ladder, Other Careers in Sports. As always, I'm your host, Nate Stein, on behalf of SPKN. Today, I am joined by the head varsity baseball coach for the Ensworth School here in Nashville, a former MLB player, 13 years in the pros, 3 years in the big leagues with the Cubs and the Twins, 16 years as a baseball coach now. Jason Maxwell. Jason, thanks for joining me today.
Nate, thanks for having me, man. I'm definitely looking forward to this interview, and I always thought highly of you, so thank you for having me on.
Great to have your company. Let's go all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
When did you know that you wanted to coach?
I knew in high school. Mm-hmm. When I was in high school, actually, I knew that at some point now my ultimate goal was to play Major League Baseball, which I was able to accomplish, but I knew ultimately I wanted to get back and be a coach. My high school coaches, my college coaches, even some of my coaches in the pro level had such an impact on me that it was only right that I took the knowledge they gave me and I'm able to give it back to kids that I've come in contact on a daily basis now.
I mean, yeah, that's the ultimate goal. You obviously had some incredible experiences.
Absolutely.
And to want to put those 16 years of coaching, 13 years playing baseball, you obviously have all of the expertise needed to kind of raise up that next generation. And we were talking a little bit before we started recording how even though you're the head varsity coach, you kind of have your hands in all the pies all the way down to kindergarten level at the very, very beginning. What's that like to kind of manage that many different athletes and even coaches under you?
I think it's important. Obviously, one, you're making connections with the kids. I'm a firm believer that any successful coach, anytime you want your program successful, it starts with building relationships. So for me, my first thing is to build relationships with all the players. So even with our kindergarten kids, I'm familiar with the kindergarten kids who play baseball, or the fourth grade kids, fifth grade kids. I get emails daily or text messages from coaches or their parents who are coaches give me updates on their teams. Cool. That way I have my hands on everything that's going on. And then when I have a baseball camp that's coming up during the summer, all of the kids are already getting familiar with our lingo, so to speak. Yeah. And that they have great expectations. And more importantly, they're looking forward to playing baseball at Ensworth High School.
That's just beautiful. I mean, it's a one program all the way through. All the way through. It's hard to beat that.
All the way through.
Yeah, so let's dive into kind of a tangent on that. What does a normal day look like? You talked about kind of, obviously the baseball side, the external stuff with the national team, your playing career a little bit, but here at Ensworth,
right?
What are you doing on a normal day?
I am director of admissions for our middle school. Mm-hmm. So I'll spend 8 to 3 o'clock, literally, I'm either on the phone with families, I'm touring families around the school, or I'm interviewing kids as applicants to come into the school.
Sure.
So my hands are involved on all kinds of things going around here. Sometimes I even have to venture and do some of the high school admission stuff. But more importantly, man, it's just, being that first face that these families come across when they come to our school, and making people feel welcome and want to be a part of something special that we have going on here at Ensworth.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What's the biggest piece of advice that maybe you got, or just something that you've learned over the years that you would give to somebody who sees your path and says, hey, I love baseball, I love coaching, I would love to work with kids. How do I kind of follow these footsteps and get to a similar situation?
Be passionate about what you do, number one. 2 is be a good listener.
Ooh, okay.
2 is be a good listener. And then 3, when you're put in a position, my former manager with the Minnesota Twins was Tom Kelly, legendary Tom Kelly. He gave me this advice about 3 years ago. I actually had to talk with him. 4 years ago when I was coaching the 15U team in 2018. I'm sorry. And he said, every decision you make, right? Everybody's going to weigh in on these decisions. Mm-hmm. But when you go to bed every night, make sure that you're comfortable with it, because at the end of the day, they're all going to look at you. Right? That's the decision you made. Now, nobody else is going to look at anybody as the guy in charge. Nobody's going to look at everybody else in the room, because they don't know everybody else in the room, but they're going to know your face, and they're going to know you're right. So you make sure you're comfortable with every decision you make.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good advice.
And then I have one more.
I like it. Bring it on.
You ready? And then the most important thing that I live with every single day is don't rush decisions, but instead be deliberate and not desperate.
That is really good advice.
Yeah.
So what did you study in college, in school? And what else did you do to prepare you to be a coach? Obviously, being a player is a big part of that.
Well, when I was in college, I went to Middle Tennessee State University.
Okay.
And so I was an education major. So obviously, I wanted to get into coaching, teaching. I felt that I could always make an impact.
Okay.
Who knew that my career was going to take off like it did? So I always wanted that education to fall back on. And then when I finished, I was going to get back into education. But as a player, I always watched how my coaches moved, so to speak, or moves they would make, or the way they handled daily practices. So when you come to an Innsworth baseball practice, or you come to an Innsworth baseball camp, or watch a game, a lot of what you see in me is just I've borrowed. I'd say stolen, but I borrowed from coaches that I've had in the past. I've had a lot of successful coaches, and I just take what they implemented in me and just pour it into our kids.
So I've seen a lot of connection between education and coaching since I've been a part of the Sport Professional Knowledge Network. What kind of impact do you feel like that had on your coaching philosophy or your day-to-day style? You're talking a little bit about stealing stuff that you saw from other coaches. But what about the schooling side of that? Do you feel like there was something specific that you learned with an education major that helped you become a better coach?
I think during my major, one thing it taught me was, you got to get to know the kids because you get to know them on the field, obviously, but off the field.
Yeah.
I think what's important for me is knowing these kids off of the field.
Yeah.
Because you got to know, like, they're not going to be just, they're 16, 17, 18 years old. They're not going to be perfect every single day. They have things going on in their lives just like everybody else does. So if I'm able to connect and see something bothering them during the course of the day, and then when they get out to practice, I can say, okay, this is what's bothering him. I can pull that kid to the side.
Okay.
Right, but it also comes from building those relationships early, where you get to know those kids. Something's off about Nate today. Okay, what do I want to talk to him? Do I need to talk to him side? But education, having my education, taught me those things and how to handle kids on a different level than just the rigor of the activity of playing baseball.
Sure. So I feel like we're touching a little bit on your coaching philosophy as we get into that. Do you have something that you feel like taught you your coaching philosophy, maybe something that a coach said that really stuck with you from your past that really impacted the way you wanted to kind of push on towards your future path?
So what happened for me is I'm a quote machine. I love quotes.
All right.
I'm big into quotes. And my favorite quote, if you ever heard me speak, I do a lot of speaking engagements. Here, I use this quote in every speech that I do, and it's Jackie Robinson's quote, that life is not important except for the impact it has on other lives.
Love that.
Right?
Yeah.
And so my ultimate goal is to impact everybody that I come across on a daily basis. It's not I'm going to impact you today, then 2 weeks ago. No, if I see you today, I want to have an impact on you every single day. And if I'm not impacting you, then I feel I'm not doing my job.
Okay.
And so my coaching philosophy is big. For us, we always say it's bigger than baseball. It goes beyond, your 4 years or however long you're going to be under my tutelage or under my coaching wings. All of our alums come back.
Love
right?
that.
I get more invitations to weddings or this and that. Coach, this is happening, or what do you think about this? Or like current college players, Coach, what do you think about this? Coach, I might go to transfer. It's a lot that goes on. I'm pretty much hands-on with all of our players, whether they're baseball or not. And I coach the USA teams. I'm like constant contact with all these guys as well. So it is definitely something that you build relationships with. They respect you for that.
Yeah.
You're not using them just for their baseball talent. Okay, you're getting to know them, and when people feel appreciated like that, okay, you're going to get the best of them in everything they do.
Amazing. So I'm glad you touched on USA Baseball, because I do want to get into that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did you get involved with USA Baseball? What was that process like to, I believe it was last summer, the summer before, you ended up being the head coach of the U18 national team.
Yeah, so it's a process, and it's something that I never thought in a million years I would be able to do, is be the head coach of a USA team. And they called me one day and asked me to be a part of the process, and I started in 2014. So 2014 I did some USA trials, 15 did against 2016. I'm going to walk you through the years. So
I like it.
2016 I was assistant coach on the U15 team. We were in Japan. We won a bronze medal, which is not great.
Hey, listen, it's still hardware.
It's still hardware, right? 2017, I was over the 14U program, developmental program. Then 2018 is I was the head coach of the U15 team. And so we actually won the gold medal that year as the head coach. First time ever the 15s had ever won it.
Wow.
And so we won the world championship in Panama. And we defeated Panama in Panama, so that was kind of a crazy time.
Whoa.
But to be able to, first of all, be named the manager's one.
Yeah.
Two is winning a world championship and getting a gold medal hung around your neck and a national anthem playing in a foreign country against that team. Whereas, you played Dominican Republic, you played Cuba, you played Japan, and everybody else. So we had a heck of a team. And then, but we were the first ones to ever do that. I always tell people, or the team, we still have a group message going now. Like, some of the guys most are freshmen in college. Mm-hmm. Then we have a few of them that signed the first round last year. So,
amazing. Yeah, decent team. They're just
okay.
A little bit of talent
they're
there.
Okay. And then obviously 19, I relaxed, and 20 was the COVID year. Uh-huh. And then last summer, I was head coach of the U18 team. So it was very unique. I'm very honored and privileged to have been named the head coach of the USA team twice.
It's amazing.
For two different age levels, 15 and then 18.
Yeah.
And to have a lot of success at it. So it's definitely great for not only me, but for my family. And then also for Innsworth. It puts Innsworth baseball on the map as your head baseball coach is the head of the USA program. So
it's hard to beat that kind of national, even global exposure.
It's a lot, and a lot of awards and recognition come for that, but that's not what I'm in it for.
Yeah.
I'm in it for, like I said, it all goes back to that one quote, man.
Yeah.
Impacting others.
I know you're not in it for the awards, but I do want to talk about them a little bit. It's fun to talk about. You went through a couple of really high points. Obviously, a couple medals in there, winning the first ever gold with the national U15 team. What is a situation that you found yourself in, either as a coach or we can go back to your playing career, where looking back on it, you would have told somebody, if I didn't experience this firsthand, if I didn't know for a fact it happened to me, I would never believe that it was happening to me, and nobody else would either.
Oh, man. First of all, I'm going to touch on something that's kind of touchy, but it's not touchy. It's literally, I'm one of the only African-American baseball coaches.
Yeah.
Right? Not only in the state of Tennessee, definitely in the state of Tennessee.
Sure.
But I'm at a private school.
Yeah.
Right? So I still get people looking at me, how'd you get this job? Or then as you go beyond here, one of the first ever African-American head coaches for USA Baseball. And to be successful at that. And I tell people all the time, I did a magazine article last year, it's actually right there. I tell people all the time that for me, it's not about the wins and losses. It's about showing that others behind me can do this as well. So I love setting that tone and being that sounding board for those guys when they have questions. I have so many guys across the country that call me, young African American men who call me and want to know what it's like, how do I get involved, or just get my advice. And that's my duty, man.
That's amazing. That's something that I don't experience.
Right.
mean, so I love having your perspective there. I love that we're able to share that part of the story because it's huge.
It's huge, and for me to be one of the, I won't say the trailblazer, but a trailblazer in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is. It's important.
Yeah.
But I don't think people look at it like I'm not hired or look because I'm an African American guy.
Sure.
I don't think people look at it that way, but I just think, I do get a lot of calls about it from other people, talking about how proud of me they are, or how people look up to me. That's just incredible. Because I'm on that national scene.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's definitely an honor.
We talked about this a little bit earlier, and I'm sure you have plenty, but if you can narrow down one or maybe even two coach stories from your time as a player, as a coach, something that was either positively or negatively impact, but stuck with you throughout your career.
The biggest one, honestly, that has stuck with me for my coaching career is it came from my college coach, Steve Peterson, at Middle Tennessee State. And he actually passed away a couple years ago. But he was, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I can't tell you precisely. But he was elected into the American Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So all of our players, we all go back. We have this dinner for them. Right now, if we have a dinner for everybody, for your coach, you expect it. Some of the players to come back. Not
sure.
We literally he coached MTSU for over 20-something years, right? So he was the head coach, and pretty much everybody came back.
Wow.
But the biggest thing for me, that was important. So I talked to him, coach, and we had a great relationship. As coach, I said, everybody came back. He goes, Maxwell, I'm going to tell you something. He said, I want you to remember this. He said, you know why everybody came back? And I go, I said, what you got, coach? What you got? He said, I'll tell you why. He said, because I never exhausted your flame.
Oh my gosh.
So for
That's
me,
huge.
as a coach, I want to make sure that the flame that these players and children have for playing baseball under me, right, they continue to have that flame even after they're done, right? I never want to exhaust their flame, and because you go look, there's a slide that I would show when I do a lot of presentations of kids running to the field when they're 5 years old, and you can remember everybody being so happy and joyful, running onto the field, win or lose, it don't matter, right? You want to make sure they're having that same joy in high school, in college, whatever level they're on, because at the end of the day, it's a game. So you never exhaust that flame, and that's what I set out to do every single day.
I mean, you just hit our mission right on the head for SBKN. I should just end it right here.
And so that's why when you called me about this, I thought about exhausting your flame.
Oh, I love that.
That is my passion. That's my motive for everything that I do in this baseball world, is to make sure I never exhaust a kid's flame.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today, Jason.
This is my passion and heart, so I'm glad I was able to do this.
Well, thanks for joining us here on Up the Ladder.
Yeah.
Everybody at SPKN appreciates you. I personally appreciate you. It's been wonderful.
It's awesome, man.
Awesome.
Appreciate you, Nate. Thank you.